Hmm. Okay, we're back streaming again. Um, is it working now? Not sure if it's better. Cool. It's better? Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, that's obviously much better. um, yeah, cool. So, all right, we're editing this picture. I did like a rough color edit to it so far. Let me add the other settings that I had before. Um, let's see. All right, it's actually smooth. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, all right, cool. So yeah, basically what I did before was I changed the profile, and then I changed the white balance so it actually the color looks correct, and then added some exposure, some contrast, texture, clarity, dehaze, vibrance, and saturation, and it looks a lot more realistic now. This is kind of how I remember what the dog looked like, but I'm looking at it through maybe tan colored glasses because I took this picture last year. um, but it just seems a lot more like what an actual dog would look like. But yeah, so today we're just doing some like super rough filtering. Like obviously this picture is bad. Like cutting off the dog's face, it looks like it's kind of a mid blink. It's not even focused, so we're just gonna delete it or mark it for deletion. This one, the color looked a little too intense because it was using the other presets, not preset, the other settings I had put up. This one is kind of okay. This dog looks a little stoned. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Maybe if we increase the shadows and the black levels, and let's go 30 on shadows and 25 on black, and it looks still a little stoned. So I'm not a huge fan of it. Hey, Dave, how's it going? No worries. Hopefully, I'm still somewhat entertaining Yermi. But yeah, so I am not a huge fan of this picture just because like he does look a little stoned. This one, that bonus points for that tongue. Oh no, it's still buffering. Oh man. Okay, I wonder if maybe the buffering is just because it's like since I am using Restream and it's bouncing it everywhere. And what is my CPU at? Okay, so I am at 50 something percent CPU. So that's not terrible. It's not great. What am I at for network consumption? Maybe I actually kind of wonder. So the laptop I've got everything hooked up to is it's a little weird. It's using like all USB ports, and I kind of wonder if maybe this thing can't handle too much Ethernet or anything going through it. Um, what did I try before that did get it to work? Reconnection successful. Okay, it looks like we're still online, and OBS says that we're connected back up. So, all right, let me see. Is it working okay now? Um, okay, well, let's just try to keep. I'll just try to keep moving. Man, if only it were super easy to get everything up and running. So I do like that right now this picture's got the tongue sticking out. That's pretty cute, but not a great picture of the dog. Not this one either. That one is kind of nice. I don't really like how his paws are cut off. Um, I won't mark that for deletion now, but I don't have high hopes for that one. Maybe there's a better one. Uh, let's see. Okay, I'm going to highlight multiple ones and then look at them side by side. So I've highlighted them all and hit N. So now I can actually do a comparison of all three. They're honest, they're like really, really similar. It is hard to tell. Probably the best one is this one, and even then, I'm not like a huge fan of it. But if there were one I was actually going to look at more, it would be that last one on the right. Um, so I'm going to get rid of this and this. Go back to develop. Um, and it might crash my computer. So let's figure out what to do now. And okay, cool. It finally came back. Um, yeah. The wonders of using old computers. um, I would really love a new desktop to work on. Um, but yeah, okay, cool. We're gonna keep that one and maybe spend some time on it later. This one, oh, this puppy looks so suave, but I have a feeling that this one and this one and this one, so those four, I have a suspicion that they're all gonna look pretty similar. And look at that, I was right. Hmm. Let's zoom in and see what if there's a difference between any of them. So let's do compare. And so I've hit C to get into this view, which is like comparing two different pictures. And right now it is comparing the first two of these four. The first one is better between the first and the second because the second one appears to be just slightly out of focus. Like it focused on the nose instead of the dog's eye, which is still kind of cute, but prefer to have it on the eye. So now between the first and the third, let's zoom in again. And I think it's going to be the same problem. It looks like it's focused on the nose instead of the eye. And now we're on the fourth picture, and this one is just kind of generally soft. 7852. Oh, no, it switched the candidate and the. Okay, let's go back. And then we're going to select first and the last, and then do the comparison. Screen share seems to be lagging a little worse than my voice. Interesting. I wonder. Actually, that kind of makes sense because it is bouncing from the desktop to my laptop versus like the mic is actually plugged into my laptop. I think in the future I will have to move all of this stuff onto the desktop, which isn't that great. It's kind of annoying. So you can't see, but right down here is this dock, and it's got my actual camera, the microphone, and actual camera, the microphone, and a monitor, this monitor, all hooked up into it. And it's a little hard to move over to the desktop. I think I can do one by one cables. Yeah, I'll figure that out. Maybe I can just get like I have a dock somewhere. Maybe I can figure out how to hook all three up into one dock and just move them over at the same time. I don't know how well that would handle the video for streaming, but hey, it's easier to deal with that way. But yeah, I guess I'm also not surprised at the screen share lagging. Having to deal with the old computer is still kind of like not that great. But yeah, actually, let me look what it looks like. It is kind of slow loading it. Okay, let me see. Click and drag, click and drag. Oh, wow. Oops, sorry. The multi-click of my mouse is still acting up. Yeah, there is some lag. Well, all right. Well, I'll work on that later, I think. Yeah. Okay, so for now, between these two pictures, I like the second. I think I like the first one more. Let's paste those settings from before on both. do think the first one is better, but I'm not sure why. I think because, hmm, hmm, hmm. Let's see. If I'm gonna stand for a second. If I had to figure out uh, which one of these two I liked and why, I am actually not too sure. Um, so I think it's the catch light in the eyes. It The eye in the picture on the left is just a little bit brighter, like it has a little bit more reflection from the local light source, and I think that for me that is a little bit better because it looks like the eyes are more alive. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna do more looking at them later. Um, I think I'm gonna move on to the next couple pictures. You can see which ones I'm gonna delete. So I don't like that one. It's just too boring. Now it's a duplicate, and that's boring. That one's a little bit better. It looks like it's looking at something. Let me see. Nah, of all those, I think the only keeper. I mean, honestly, my favorite one is this one. It's the one where it's like kind of asleep, right? um, but yeah, okay. And then now we're on to these pictures I took for my coffee mug project, um, which since I'm not running this project anymore, I don't even know if I want to keep these. Um, also, yeah, how's everything going, Dave? um, and oh, they're different mugs. Okay. Um, so of these three, let me link these. Oh, those are actually all different mugs. Okay, so between the first two, which of these do I want? We're gonna go N and trying to see. I think the first one is gonna need more work to edit, so let's not keep that one. Are these all the same mug? No, the first three are the same. No, weird. Okay, so the first one is different. That's really weird. Okay, so these two are the same. Um, and of these, I think the second one is better. So let's keep that one. All right. All right. How many of these are the same stain? Wow. What a weird collection. It's not normal to only have. Oh, I have a suspicion that when I took these as a group, um, I think I actually saved mugs from multiple days and took pictures of them all at one go. Because it sounds like something I would do because it's kind of less work. Because I only have to take out the camera once and mount it once and then take pictures, and then it becomes like a batch job instead of just one session. I think so. That's a different picture. So it's just these two. And of these two, I think the one on the right is better because the light looks a little bit more even. Okay, so are these all the same? No, slightly different somehow. That's super weird. Okay, so these two are the same. Yeah, okay. And again, get rid of the first one. I think this is still the same. I think maybe I had a second cup of coffee using the same mug. Oh, good. That's good to hear, Dave. I guess. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, things could be a lot better in general, but yeah. I mean, you do what you can. Actually, I had I had a phone call with a data scientist at Stripe, and there was a software engineer at Stripe, and he was like, man, honestly, it's like a really weird time for you to be looking for a job. And I was like, yeah, I know, but you you play with the hand you're dealt, you don't play with the deck, you know. um, yeah, so yeah, it's good that you're still healthy. That is, it's better than the alternative. Yeah. So this next batch of photos is actually, I cannot believe how long ago this was. This coffee shop in Mountain View that I like, they had this like evening birthday party and they invited a bunch of regulars to attend. So I think it was their first year of business done in Mountain View. Um, and the owner is like super cool. She's really chill, and is very positive over people who had small businesses and tried to encourage them and help them get better and grow. And I got invited to their like 1 year anniversary in Mountain View, and like basically after hours, people who were invited like got to like enter this tournament where they had to try to make latte art for the baristas, and then I was just taking pictures of the whole thing, and it was a lot of fun. But obviously, like I found this like weird duplicate bug. I don't know if y'all heard, but it just like kept. I have duplicates of a bunch of different photos. It's like almost 3,000 pictures, or I think 2,600. I don't know why. They've had color profiles attached to them, no metadata, so they're actually kind of a nightmare to try to filter out. Um, and I just went through and like flagged them all for deletion because there's no reason for me to have them. But that's why, like, if you're looking at the video feed, it's like, why do you have two of each one? Yeah, and I don't know if I really feel like going through this whole event, just because it's like uh, other subjects I think are a little bit easier for me to filter out right now. Um, yeah, like more of these coffee mug pictures should be really easy for me to figure out which ones to delete and which ones to keep. This is all like, it's kind of like a super top level view of the stuff I do to try to like free up space on my hard drive, which I 100% need to do now because I have this like 8 terabyte drive that all these photos are on. And last time I looked, it was like 1 gig free, something like that. There's just no space. So getting rid of a bunch of duplicates at least should uh, help and let me actually import pictures from this year instead of last year. But yeah, so this one I'm gonna have to do. Oh, okay. So these two are the same, like same subject, but they actually show one weird thing. The light reflection is different, and in the picture on the right, if we go to the compare and contrast, the picture on the right, you can tell that there's like a slight difference in the exposure, and I think it's because I'm still behind the camera. So like me being there actually messes up the exposure a little bit. I think it's this one. Like I think that's my face, just bouncing light off. So let's just get rid of that one. Um, Go back to the grid view and try to compare similar pictures. Ah, man, it'd be really nice if I had like everything of mine was on an SSD because Lightroom is pretty slow on this older drive. All right, let's see. Okay, so clearly the first two are the same picture. So we're gonna get rid of the last three, and then now we're looking at these two and what is different between them. Um, let's see. Yeah, so behind me you can tell that there's a lot of sunlight and it is kind of messing with my ability to see the screen a little bit. I do not have a comfortable room that is dark. My desktop used to be in my bedroom, and then during the summer, I found out the hard way that I could not sleep because this thing puts out way too much heat, even with the monitor on, and it just wasn't comfortable. Um, so yeah, uh, between these two, they look really similar. If I really had to pick one, honestly, I'd probably go with I kind of like the one on the right more because it looks like the shadows are a little bit more exposed. So there's a little bit more to work with if I'm doing some editing because not all of the I won't have to push the shadows so much, and that makes it like look a little bit better, less noisy. Um, can handle some post processing a little bit more. Although these are for my, the coffee mug project. I really didn't have to do much post processing or anything. It's super easy to work with. And then these are a different stain. Don't like the first one. Um, and I don't like the last one because it's too dark. Okay, cool. So that simplified stuff. Um, and then I was doing some vlogging and oh, cool, cool, cool. Okay, so this will be kind of fun. These pictures, this stack here, that's a stitched panorama, and the location is actually here. It was in San Francisco, and this is at Ina Gilbraith Park. It's up in San Francisco, as you can probably tell with the Bay Bridge and Transamerica Pyramid, and then the Salesforce Tower there. This is one of my favorite parks. It like kind of like when you're going into the park, this view just kind of shows up. It's honestly hard to tell that it's even there because all these buildings around you when you're walking in the street just completely block the view. And then you get to this park and you just see this like pretty up close view of the actual skyline of San Francisco. It's not too far from where my brother used to live. And it was one of my favorite places to go when visiting the city. Maybe not in like the best area. So I met a bunch of Instagram photographers here on this trip. Like I actually just went for myself, and then after I set everything up, a bunch of photographers came and they're like, "Hey, you here for the meetup?" And I was like, "What meetup?" And they're like, "Cool, welcome to the club." um, it was really cool. They were nice guys. I haven't seen them in a while. Trying to keep in touch with people now, and it's just like, wow, I've not been very good at this. But yeah, one thing I learned about this park was like I thought it was safe. People were saying it's like actually pretty safe. But one of the photographers there just seemed on edge the whole time, and I was like, "Hey, what's up? This place is supposed to be like okay to go to, right?" He was like, "Man, do you live in the city?" I'm like, "No, I live in South Bay." And he said, "Yeah, well, like maybe like a week ago, there's a photographer here who came alone and he got mugged. So like this place used to be safe, but now that it got popular, like people know to like come by here and try to uh, harass photographers. So just be really careful." And he told me like I actually have like bear spray in my pocket just in case. And I was like, okay, well, we should be okay. Like now that there's 7 of us here, we should be fine. But I can walk you through, assuming it's not lagging too much, I can walk you through what it's like to work on a stitched panorama if you are me. Um, so what we've got here is, yeah, okay. So the first picture here, I am trying to figure out the exposure and also like kind of eyeball the composition. So I've already figured out like what's the tallest thing, and what's the kind of shortest thing. Um, it'd be really good if it was like, okay, I have all these down, and then once I've got the aim figured out, I can actually set the exposure and then make sure to sweep. So this picture, this first one, is actually a pretty much designated throwaway. Um, this picture is kind of the other side, basically like where do I want to start, and it's just like a first run. I can already tell what I kind of want. Excuse me. I can already tell what I want to crop out because like I am not a huge fan of this thing like right here. That's somebody's roof, I think, and I find it to be distracting. So I have a feeling that I'm going to crop out probably from. Ooh, I actually can't. Well, okay, we'll see. So I'd say this is where it starts going next. And then what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is basically stitch all of these together. I've shot them in a way that about half of the picture is basically overlapping. I have a suspicion. Aaron, you're better than this, Aaron. All of these are going to get junked. So this round was basically just to set like what am I actually trying to look at. But normally, like I try to get the whole range going, get a feel for how many pictures am I going to take at each angle, and then how many pictures are going to comprise a whole sweep. But in this particular one, I actually left it in auto exposure, which is kind of an amateur move, to be completely honest. So I'm going to delete all of those because they're honestly not good. I noticed just slight changes in the exposure going from one picture to the next, and having to deal with that in a stitch panorama is just a nightmare. But I have a suspicion that I realized it was on auto exposure and I fixed it because like I kept taking more pictures there. And I also have a suspicion that I did not intend to take pictures at that time of day. So I have a feeling, I mean, again, I took these pictures like last year. I have a feeling that I actually wanted twilight so I could get some of the street lights in there. And it looks like I've gotten some. So let's see, we're going to get this whole stack going again. And we will, let's see. So Transamerica there, and then that is Salesforce. So that is a stack. So if we look through, we have got, I'm looking at the top here. I've got ISO 200, 70 millimeter, f8, and 2.0. Or 2.0 seconds for the exposure. So if any of those change going from frame to frame, that means I stupidly did not take it off of auto exposure. So it looks like the exposure is constant. And the only thing that's changing looks like the white balance, which is fine. Since I shoot raw, these will be just sensor dumps. And then what I can do now is I can maybe let's pick a shot that has got mixed lighting. So the local environment lighting and then the street lighting. Let's go with that one. And then we can actually do all the edits on this picture and then copy paste them onto all of the other ones. So first thing I'll do is Adobe Landscape and then change the white balance to, I'm going to say cloudy. Looks like it was cloudy that day. That might make it a little too purple. So let's tone down the tint, make it 10 or make it 0. Still a little purple. If we go -10, okay, that's a little gray, but we'll take it. Go contrast 25. Let's do 10 texture, 10 clarity, 10 dehaze. Probably none of that is all that necessary. Let's do dehaze 0, and 15 vibrance, and 10 saturation. Why those numbers? Honestly, that's kind of my standard stuff. Like I kind of pick these numbers just from experience, taking a bunch of pictures before, that I'm pretty comfortable knowing that for this subject, I can go to these numbers by default. Maybe not with the white balance, but with the contrast and then texture, clarity, vibrance, saturation. I can go to those and just trust that they're going to be an okay starting point. And then after that, I can tweak later on. So for example, color, I'm almost certain I'm going to tweak again, which means that like the tint and the vibrance and saturation I'll probably mess around with. So I have also scrolled all the way down here to remove any chromatic aberration and also applied the automatic profile corrections from Adobe. So in that's all changed on this picture. I'm actually going to sync it to all of these in the whole stack. And that way they should actually look kind of the same. So did it sync across? It looks like it synced across, and then the thumbnails in the time strip or film strip in the bottom, like very slowly update. But it looks like it's working through. It looks like it worked fine. Yeah, it's a little hot in terms of the whites. You can probably tell from like this car. This area right here is like pretty much just blown out. So I can probably afford to pull down those highlights. But to be completely honest, I don't know now that I've applied some changes. I don't know if I really like this picture that much. In order to get the height, the field of view vertically to where I wanted it to be to capture the Transamerica period right here, it looks fine here, right? Because like there's basically something filling the frame. The only problem is that once you get over the Bay Bridge, it's just gray, and it's just really boring, at least in my opinion. So I kind of don't really like this picture. I think if I did a stitch, this all of this gray negative space could be really useful for something like I don't know, like stock photo, or like you could put like text in the top left. But in terms of like just like straight, like would I print this and mount it on my wall? Probably, honestly, no. It'd be really boring. It'd be a pretty view, but like could be way better. It just needs something in the top. But let's see. Let's what I'll do is I will actually so I'll mark in the keywords here panorama. Um, and that way it attaches that label to all of those, and I'm going to group that into a stack. And custom order is not supported in a folder that contains subfolders. Thanks, Lightroom. I have no idea what you're talking about. We are going to do a photo merge and just do panorama. So shortcut for that is Control M. We don't have to do that. But basically, it's going to try to automatically have, I think Adobe has Camera Raw try to do it. Try to stitch together panorama from every picture in that stack. And why I did like a 50% overlap between each individual frame is because you need the overlap for the algorithm to actually do the stacking for you. So this is the result it gave. And I don't know, you can probably see the like this whole section in the left-hand side is what I was talking about. There's just nothing there. And I personally think it just like looks super boring. And then in the top right, there's this tree branch and stuff that like I will have to clone out in Photoshop. And then that gives this problem of like it's just gray sky. Um, so let's see. Let's remove the auto crop. That's why it's doing the auto crop. Okay. Good call. Good call. I wish there was more space up above. So actually, you know what? I'm just going to remove the auto crop. When this is done, I can go back in Photoshop and do like content aware fill because it's all gray. It actually be kind of easy for it to do something. And then I can just like remove that part later and then probably just crop out the bottom. Yeah, but it'd be nice if I could tweak the cropping here so that I could just like chop off this part where it's white on the bottom because that part I'm going to remove anyway. But yeah, if I change the projection to spherical or perspective, let's see if it looks any different. I don't like that one. It kind of just compresses it vertically. What about perspective? I kind of hate that. Cylindrical. You know what? Perspective might actually be the way to go. My first instinct was to not like it, but it looks a little bit more natural in perspective. All right, let's go with that. And we're going to get rid of auto crop. Let's see if we can fill edges, see what it does. I don't have high hopes for fill edges. So one of the things that like Adobe, I think hires like, I don't know how many employees they have, but like their big products for me at least are Lightroom and Photoshop. And Lightroom was actually acquired. They bought it from, they bought the underlying technology from, I don't remember anymore. It was actually like back in like 2008 or 2009. Oh, no, 2005, 2006, I think. They bought a program and then built that into Lightroom. And you can tell like they did not have the same engines and stuff underneath because how Lightroom will render things like a panorama is completely different than how Photoshop does it. So I've seen this before. Like sometimes I'll do like an automatic merge to panorama in Lightroom and it's awful. And then sometimes I will just have Photoshop do it. Like I'll send the raw files to Photoshop and then just say do it for me, and it is way better and sometimes faster. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so here's the difference. Like Down below, you can see it's going to be really hard to content aware fill that because it's a lot of architecture and like people related things. Um, Up top, since it's all gray, it's pretty easy. They just like, I mean, that's really easy to fill in. But down here, because of the architecture, like there's weird patterns. It does this weird stuff like right in the middle near the tree. So I'm gonna get rid of fill edges and just leave it white, and then that way I have some more control over it later to make all the changes. But I'm just gonna merge those. I still don't think I'm gonna use this merged panorama. But it'd be nice to have, and maybe who knows, maybe I'll change my mind. I could try to use this as a basis for like a sky replacement. That'd be kind of interesting to see. I don't know what I would do for a sky replacement. It's like I have software that has an AI that lets you do that, and I could just like paint in another sky. But it never honestly looks all that convincing because it's dependent on the light source that you're trying to like replace the sky with. Um, and this like rainy, cloudy sky, I don't think is easy to sub out because everything else has to have like a soft light. Um, and also the fact that like there is rain and the roads are wet, it doesn't make sense to replace with like a brighter sky because it's like how did rain and stuff get there? But yeah, so let's do that with the next stack too because who knows? Let me see if I change the exposure at all in this next stack. ISO before it was ISO 200, f8, 2 seconds. Focal length I think was 70 millimeter. If any of that exposure is the same, it's gonna look the same and it won't be that much different. ISO 400. Man, what was I thinking? Dang. Okay. Well, this is going to be complicated. So let's highlight the whole stack, select the whole stack, and I think I began another stack in that one. Okay. Well, weird. Let's see. Oh yeah, because there are more lights on. So that's actually like a different stack. Let's just apply the same settings as the last one and see what we get. Portrait. That's right. I did a sync and not a copy paste of the settings. So let's undo all of that. We're going to go Adobe Landscape. We're going to go Cloudy, knock down the purple to -10 tint, 25 contrast, 10 texture, 10 clarity, 15 vibrance, 10 saturation, and remove the chromatic aberration, enable the profile corrections, and then synchronize that with this whole stack. There are definitely blown out sections. There are things that are just way too white. And the lights just look really hot. Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of this one. I think this is also when the rain started like picking up, but mostly just increasing as a mist. Oof. And then this color balance is way off. It's way too yellow. So let's go tungsten. Nope. Let's not go to tungsten. You know what? Fluorescent might be okay. It's still a little blue. Let's try 4200 and we're going to go 10. Tint, and then let's sync that with everything and see how that looks. Yeah, this is another reason why it's really good to shoot in full RAW instead of JPEG because you can make all these changes. It doesn't, you still have all the information. It's just being rearranged a little bit. This one, actually, you know what? This color looks, it does not look good in this section. And then also this first picture, I'm going to delete because the exact same one a second later or 2 seconds later. But those car lights are just too hot. Um, I don't know. I think I have a feeling that I shot this a little too hot, and I think I did it on purpose. I have a feeling if I dropped the exposure by a quarter, -10 of the highlights and -10 of the whites, and then sync that up. I don't know if anyone can hear the music. Still listening to the My Analog Journal and its Coffee Break Sessions playlist. It is now on Jazz from USSR vinyl set, and I'm kind of feeling it. And I think I'm just like in this groove right now, just editing all these photos, and it just feels relatively sensical. um, but yeah, although I might actually take a break slash might stop because how long have I been going? Okay, I've been streaming for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, trying to get things working. I think maybe I'll stop streaming at 6. Yeah, 6 sounds good. And I might still be editing, or at least later might still be editing, but I got to figure out what to get for dinner. I don't know, Dave and Jeremy, what y'all ended up eating, and if it's any good, let me know. um, but yeah, let's see. Right now, what a weird. I kind of think this purple could work, the overall purple tint, but it's still like a little too blue in sections. Let's try 4400 and do 0 on the tint, and let's sync that across the stack again. Let's see how this looks. I don't think the toning down the whites and the highlights really fixed anything, because I think whatever was there is just like completely blown out and there's just no data in there anymore. Um, so like here's a good example with those right here. It's too blown out. And here, same deal. You can't really read the signs. But if we do minus, say 20, and minus 20 here, that's a little bit better. You can at least, like, I think that says Montgomery. Let's keep that at minus 20. Let's make this at minus 30. And let's look at the difference.